Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good morning to my colleagues, to the people of the territory. Good morning to the testifiers and central staff and my staff. The first question I would like to ask has to do, yesterday we had individuals from the Board of Pharmacy, and I want to know, is there any type of coordination between VITEMA, Human Services, the Health Department, to make sure that the flow of life-saving drugs such as insulin and some of these other things that are needed that might be disrupted through a hurricane, that the supply chain is either still in place? Do you guys coordinate stuff like that?
Senator, good morning, Director Josh. And I do have with me Assistant Commissioner Ruben Malloy from the Department of Health. And I know we've talked about this and drilled on this. So, ma'am, I'll turn it over to him to respond on that particular question.
Good morning, Assistant Commissioner Ruben Malloy. Yes. Morning. Good morning. Yes, we do. Part of ESF 8's responsibility and the lifeline is what do you call it? Supply line. Sorry, supply line of medication, and we do collaborate with and include all appropriate parties in developing our plans and procedures. So yes, pharmacy is engaged.
As it relates to preparedness again, I remember last year, October, Director Josh and you were before the Committee on Government Operations where I presented Bill, I think it was 34-0103, and that was in regards to identifying essential workers and businesses. At the time, you were in support of the piece of legislation because one of the things you did share with us is that it was a benefit and a plus to your organization to be able to already have these locations and businesses identified in order, once they were already previously identified through law, you would be able to assist them through consistent information, classes, making sure who needs equipment on a continuous basis because we are in a hurricane zone. Are you still of the same mindset as it relates to my continued pursuit of that particular piece of legislation? Or do you feel that you have mastered some other way around getting this done?
Well, Senator, we have stood up this year through the interaction with Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs, our Business Emergency Operations Center, which is really all private sector, focusing on those 7 lifelines. So we really, we modeled this off of Puerto Rico, and we've been very successful. It was going to be just a test environment, but we actually used at least for 3 real-world events, and specifically on the last storm, Fiona, we did use that relationship to drive prioritization and get oxygen in the territory. So we did have an impact in Puerto Rico with vessels coming out as well as in Puerto Rico. So I support that completely. But we have stood up a Business Emergency Operations Center with fantastic support from the private sector.
Excellent. So are you saying you no longer need that, or I'm trying to, what are your thought process? I didn't understand. I understand what you're doing now, but would you still be in need of being able to identify them as a standard throughout the year so you could work with them? Or are you saying you already are, so it's not necessary?
Well, it goes back to that definition of essential. You know, my thought was if you're essential, then we can talk about, you know, getting generators in, and we can talk about support, a continuity of operations plan, which would help focus the activities. Right now with the BEOC, we're getting the same sort of support from them, and they're basically looking at a tiered approach to that. So as far as essential, I think we're actually working that very well with our Business Emergency Operations Center.
Okay, thank you. One of the major things during the hurricane time, WAPA, what are you doing in coordinating with them as to their hardiness, preparedness to mitigate the amount of time they might be down? You know, we're not in a hurricane, and we were down for several hours here in the District of St. Thomas, St. John last night. So what's happening with them between your coordination?
Well, they are one of the lead agencies with us, along with the VI Energy Office, on preparation response efforts. We activate We do have representatives in the Emergency Operations Center on Water Power Authority. We did this recently for Tropical Storm Fiona. Very active information coming to us. We had our 911 center actually having those calls come in with us. Representative was there on all 3 EOCs. We're able to real time put that request ticket in and get that information out. So we constantly have that interface at the EOCs with FITEMA, with Water Power Authority and any other agencies that need to respond during times of crisis.
Okay. Mr. Chair, may I ask my final question for this round, please?
Please proceed.
Thank you. I want to ask my final question, and it's in regards to blue tarps. As you know, in the hurricane season, from the last sets of hurricanes we've had, several people still have tarps on their roofs. Have we coordinated to assist with hardlining or making them a little bit more sturdy, so to help assist with extensive flooding, because they're there for several years? Has there been any thoughts as to the improvements or reinforcement of those blue tarps while we potentially might be going through another storm? Is that part of the conversation?
Senator, we mentioned earlier on the volunteer organizations, Actor After Disasters, known as VOADs. We work with them quite a bit already to try to get blue tarps that are available either through FITEMA. We've taken some of the large tarps and cut those down in smaller sections. We have responded as needed after every single rainstorm that's come up. But it's really been an ad hoc basis. As you know, there's a STEP program that's out that was just temporarily to work with that, and now we're working more with Envision. I won't go into details on that, ma'am, but I think as far as FITEMA, we have some available, but it's really as needed, and we worked the last storm. Probably 6 or 7 went out on St. Croix, 6 or 7 on St. Thomas. I'm not sure about St. John, but that's really as they come up, but nothing is organized, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the additional time.
5 minutes to Senator Alma Francis Heiliger. You're now recognized.
Thank you. Good afternoon once again. Once to my colleagues, to the legislative staff, to the testifiers. This particular conversation, I've continued to listen, and I'm very, very concerned overall with, I'm trying to say this in a very, we know that we have hurricane season on an annual basis. And as much as I appreciate what the chairman is doing with us coming together, I'm trying to understand, is there a long-term way for us to have a continuous coordination as opposed to on an annual basis for this? I'm trying to, this is who we are. You understand what I'm saying? We live in a hurricane zone. So I'm trying to figure out, is there a way for us to have a plan that is so consistent every single, that it rolls over, that this is not, we can get updates, but we're so strong in what we're doing that the people look to these various agencies and teams to know that this is a solid foundation every time, or if anything ever happens during the hurricane season. I like the conversations, but I want some kind of solid ground. And I'm trying to understand, do you think as a government we'll ever get to that place? Can someone answer that?
Senator Director Josh, go ahead. Member Brown, go ahead.
Yes, Assistant Commissioner Mikkel Reimer-Brown. I must say, Senator, our efforts are year-round, 12 months a year. Mm-hmm. We have plans. FITEMA is our lead. They do extremely good work. We have ongoing trainings. Our staff also attended the hurricane conference. We came back. We did mass training of all 700 plus staff of the Department of Human Services. We have crisis response groups, shelter groups. We have our emergency service function, ESF6, our ESCs, our coordinators who go into the FITEMA when we have emergencies. So the work that we do across the GVI is a continual 12 months a year, 365 days, 366 on leap years. So this is in our blood. I heard Senator Marvin Blyden say, we do this well, we know what we're doing, and I applaud especially Director Joshin because he leads our efforts well.
Okay, and that's the thing. You keep talking about you do it well, and I appreciate it. I can see some of that because I'm here. How do you articulate that to the public year round? You understand what I'm saying? And I'm speaking from a perspective of a representative speaking to the public, and that's where my concern is. It's one thing for me as a senator to come in here and you guys report to us. It's one thing for me to get the reports, for me to read them in my office, but on a year-round basis, could you tell me and the public, how do you let them to know that this is what you're doing year-round? How do you let them to know that you're here for them? How do you let them to know that, hey, we're consistently working on your behalf? Hey, these are the shelters. These are the people you contact. The public apparently is not getting that part of it. And as their representative, when they're coming to me and they're questioning me, the only people I can come to is you guys.
1 minute.
So that's where I'm trying to get at. How do we make sure they know that you're there for them consistently year round?
Senator Director Joshin, there's our drills and exercises that we do also. Some are within agencies, some are with the public. For example, every October, we do a great shakeout. As of yesterday, we have 13,000 individuals signed up in the community to participate next Thursday at 10:20 in the morning on the Great Shakeout. So I think that's one example. And again, the talk, the discussion heading up to that is so important. Also, the month of March, we do a tsunami drill. That's called it's a tsunami exercise we do also. Now that we have the tsunami sirens going, you're going to hear at least once a quarter, you're going to hear drills going on for the tsunami sirens. So as VITEMA, we want to be much more than just the hurricanes. You heard our priorities. So you're going to hear more activities going on. So I appreciate your discussion on that. We do want to do outreach. We do want to do training. So those are a couple opportunities we do have to go out with the community.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for the time.
Thank you, Senator Francis Heiliger. And Director Joshin, really quickly, how frequently does VITEMA conduct or participate